picking up vibrations. She's giving me.
In the 60s, music seemed full of hope and freedom, but behind those melodies lay unexpected secrets, pain, betrayal, and darkness that marked its performers forever. Today, we'll discover together 10 60s hits that hid very dark stories. Number 10. The Sound of Silence, Simon and Garfunkel.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
This 1964 song, which many interpret as a simple reflection on modern miscommunication, actually hides a much darker origin.
I've come to talk with you.
Paul Simon confessed, decades later, that he wrote it after experiencing the impact of Kennedy's assassination firsthand. Precisely because of this national tragedy, he began playing guitar in the dark in his bathroom, inspired by the absolute silence that took over New York that day.
Because of vision softly creeping.
As a result of this obsession, he spent weeks observing people. He noticed how they avoided looking at each other,
Left its seeds while I was
how families ate without speaking, and how television replaced human contact. That critical gaze
sleeping. And the vision
transformed into lyrics laden with melancholy and a message that seemed to describe a cold and disconnected society.
that was planted in
However, the song's success generated enormous guilt in Simon, because he felt he had turned collective pain into a commercial product.
my brain. Still
This internal tension even ended up fracturing his relationship with Garfunkel, who viewed the song as an artistic achievement,
remains
while Simon carried it as a moral burden that was difficult to bear.
within the sound of silence.
Don't miss out on more of music's hidden secrets. Subscribe now and join us for every new discovery. Number 9. California Dreamin', the Mamas and the Papas. Although many remember it as a light-filled, optimistic anthem of 1965, the truth is that it was born from a personal nightmare. While the lyrics spoke of longing for the California sun, the group was consumed by a devastating love triangle. John Phillips discovered that his wife Michelle was having an affair with his bandmate Denny Doherty, and that betrayal nearly destroyed the band at its peak. As a result of this revelation, Michelle was temporarily fired in 1966, while the others feigned harmony in front of the audience. The most painful details emerged when John found secret letters describing shared dreams of leaving the band and starting a new life. This wound turned every performance into an act of appearances, where affectionate glances on stage hid an emotional war. John himself, unable to cope with the pain, turned to drugs to numb himself, while Cass Elliot suffered in silence, watching her friends destroy themselves. Thus, what seemed like a joyful song of unity and hope was, in reality, a desperate escape from a reality marked by betrayal, resentment, and the dissolution of a musical family. Number 8. Louie Louie, The Kingsmen. What began in 1963 as a simple recording of a song with an infectious rhythm ended up becoming the center of a national scandal. Because singer Jack Ely's voice sounded unclear, partly due to his braces and the rushed session in a small Portland studio, many adults thought they heard obscenities hidden between the verses. As a result of this confusion, outraged parents demanded bans, radio stations stopped broadcasting, and even the church itself organized boycotts. The matter escalated to the point that the FBI itself opened a 2-year investigation. Analyzing recordings at different speeds, consulting linguistic experts, and even resorting to lip readers to decipher the supposedly forbidden words. The end result was as absurd as it was devastating for the band. There was nothing obscene about the song. Just a young man singing about a sailor missing his beloved. However, by then, the damage had already been done. The Kingsmen's career was marked by controversy. They were accused of corrupting youth. And Jack Ely even received death threats from parents convinced he was trying to corrupt their children. Did you ever imagine such dark stories could be hidden behind such famous songs? Answer in the comments with a yes or no. Number 7. Paint It Black, The Rolling Stones. When it was released in 1966, many saw it as a dark, rebellious anthem, but it was actually born from Mick Jagger's deepest pain. The singer was going through a severe depression after the sudden death of a close friend in a car accident. This loss plunged him into a state of anguish that seeped into every verse of the song, imbuing it with real emotional weight. During the recordings, Jagger appeared distant, sleepless, and with a vacant stare that worried everyone. The atmosphere was so tense that Brian Jones improvised on the sitar to accompany the emotional outpouring, creating the signature sound that made the song immortal. What seemed like innovation was, in fact, the sonic reflection of unbearable pain. The worldwide success forced the band to play the song night after night, forcing Jagger to relive his tragedy over and over again. After each concert, he needed to isolate himself and even began drinking heavily to cope with the burden. Thus, what was a musical triumph for the audience became an emotional prison for him, difficult to overcome. Stay until the end, because the last story is the most shocking and will leave you speechless. Number 6. House of the Rising Sun, The Animals. In 1964, the British band released this version of a popular song that became a worldwide hit.
In New Orleans.
But the curious thing is that behind the lyrics lay something much darker. For decades, it was thought to refer to a fictional brothel, although subsequent investigations showed that a real place of that name existed in New Orleans, linked to mysterious disappearances and deaths in the early 20th century. For this reason, Eric Burdon became obsessed with uncovering the truth. He traveled to the city several times, interviewed elderly people, and reviewed police files that included cases of women trapped against their will, including reports of arson attacks to eliminate evidence. As a result, the singer even refused to perform it live, feeling it was a tragedy. Yet, the contract obligated them to play it, turning each show into a painful reminder. Number 5. Good Vibrations, The Beach Boys. In 1966, Brian Wilson created what many consider a psychedelic pop masterpiece. But what few know is that this obsession nearly destroyed his mental health. The pressure to outperform his rivals and achieve a perfect sound led him to spend more than 6 months in the studio, spending more money than any single of the time. As a result, Wilson began to display paranoid behavior. He installed security systems, believed there were spies in the walls, and demanded to record the same part dozens of times with minimal changes. Musicians recalled how he would spend hours adjusting microphones down to the millimeter, while his spirits grew increasingly frayed each day. The result was a worldwide hit, yes, but also the beginning of his personal collapse. Although the public celebrated the song, his colleagues watched as Wilson sank into a state of isolation from which he never fully recovered. If you want to discover more hidden stories behind the songs that marked an era, subscribe now and join us on each new musical journey. L. Number 4. Like a Rolling Stone, Bob Dylan. In 1965, Dylan shocked the world with a song that seemed like a rebellious anthem, but was actually a personal attack disguised as art. The lyrics didn't spring from social reflection, but from fury at an ex-partner who had publicly humiliated him at a Greenwich Village party. As a result of that injury, Dylan wrote verses filled with contempt and sang them with such rage that several recording attempts had to be scrapped. Session musicians recalled that some takes were so intense that his voice sounded full of venom. Ultimately, the version that reached the public was one of the mildest compared to what was recorded in the studio. Most disturbing is that the woman who inspired the song suffered a nervous breakdown after its release, unable to bear seeing herself become the target of a cruel and immortal portrait. Do you think Bob Dylan went too far by turning a personal attack into one of his most famous songs? Let us know in the comments. Number 3. Help, The Beatles. I need somebody. In 1965, as Beatlemania dominated the world and the group seemed unstoppable, John Lennon was going through one of the darkest periods of his life. Not just anybody. The song, which many fans greeted as a joyful number, was actually a desperate cry for help. Lennon suffered from panic attacks, I need someone, depression, and substance abuse. As a result, he wrote the lyrics as a literal plea for help, disguised under an upbeat melody, so as not to alarm the audience. During the recording sessions, he even broke down in tears on several occasions. How much younger than today? And engineer Jeff Emmerich said that takes had to be repeated because his voice was so cracking. I never needed anybody's help. The starkest contrast was that while millions celebrated the song as another positive Beatles anthem, Lennon felt his pain was being turned into entertainment. That feeling of emptiness stayed with him for years and was one of the factors that led him to distance himself from the group. Don't leave just yet, because the last story is the darkest of all and will leave you thinking for a long time. Number 2. Sunshine Superman, Donovan. At first glance, this psychedelic classic from 1966 seems like a colorful celebration of love and peace. However, it actually reflected the desperation of a young Donovan trapped in abusive contracts and under the control of his managers. I changed my ways. The character of Sunshine Superman wasn't a cheerful fantasy. He was an idealized version of himself. It'll take time, I know it. Someone strong enough to break free from the manipulation he suffered. As a result, Donovan recorded and performed while receiving only a fraction of the profits, watching others enrich themselves at his expense. During the sessions, musicians described him as dejected, distracted, and staring into space, despite the song's upbeat tone. The biggest blow was that the song's success, instead of saving him, ended up strengthening his management's ties. He wouldn't regain his creative and financial freedom until the early 70s. Number 1. The End, The Doors. This is the end. Released in 1967, this 11-minute epic wasn't just a poetic journey through mortality. Beautiful friend. It actually functioned as Jim Morrison's farewell note. The singer was going through such a deep period of depression this is the end. That he had even written down detailed plans for taking his own life. And some of those ideas were reflected in the song's structure. During the recordings, his behavior became erratic and self-destructive. He would arrive at the studio intoxicated, disappear for days, and then return with more anguish-filled verses. The famous Oedipal passage wasn't simply an artistic device, it was the catharsis of childhood traumas that Morrison cried out with heartbreaking pain. Paradoxically, the song's success gave him a momentary respite, as the positive reception encouraged him to continue. However, his demons never completely subsided, and just 4 years later, his life ended in Paris.
no safety or
leaving this piece as a haunting echo of his inner struggle. If this story shocked you, wait until you see what we reveal in the next video. Click and find out now.